Hi, welcome to this live astrology report for April 26th through 30th. I'm Gina. Welcome back if you're returning to this channel, and welcome for the first time if this is your first time here. I'm so excited to talk to you today about several different things that are going on astrologically. First, let's sort of go over the plan. So although this video is titled Mars Conjunct Neptune, there are several different aspects that I'm excited to discuss today and many important things happening astrologically. So first I want to discuss Mercury stationing direct, which happened just yesterday on the 25th of April, and how that is harmonizing with eclipse season, which we're just coming out of as well. And then I want to discuss the Mars conjunct Neptune in Pisces aspect that is mentioned in the title of the video. Then we'll discuss Venus entering Taurus and Venus's transit through this sign, which will go until May 23rd. And then Venus will be in Taurus until May 23rd. Then I'd like to discuss Mars entering Aries, the sign of Aries, where Mars will be until June 9th. And then we'll save a little time at the end for Q&A. And so if you are watching live, please feel free to comment. I love your comments so much. I love to read them. And at the very end, I will go through them carefully and answer them specifically and resolve any questions that you leave there. They can be about the astrology of right now, astrology in general, your chart, whatever questions you have, I'm happy to answer. I love being live and having these interactions. Okay, so let's get started. First, I want to talk about Mercury stationing direct in Aries. So we have Mercury right here in Aries. Should I do a little highlight? It doesn't take long. I think it's helpful to mark the things in the chart that we're talking about, and then it's easy to sort of stay focused on where we are. So we're actually going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about these nodes too. So I'll highlight them both. Okay, great. And if you are just listening to this report and you're not watching, that's okay too. Let me know how. Let me know how this video looks to you. How is my camera angle? Are you able to see this chart pretty well? Hopefully you're getting mostly chart and not much else. Okay, so Mercury finally has stationed direct in Aries. And it's funny because I don't make much of a Mercury retrograde, right? They happen multiple times per year. The things that happen during Mercury retrograde don't tend to be the kind of things that we're talking about 5 years from now, is the way I think of it, right? If your phone doesn't work properly, if you have to redo something at work, if you have to communicate about something with someone over and over again, it's minor, right? This doesn't feel like a big deal. But this Mercury retrograde in Aries, I think because it was occurring at the same time as those eclipses and all these conjunctions with Chiron and the nodes, it was just a heavy Mercury retrograde. And it was heavy with eclipse season. There's a lot of energy. Aries has a lot of energy, and it's a lot of newness, a lot of initiating energy. And I just think there was a lot of fire sort of type in the collective type energy, I guess. I hate to continue to use that word. But it felt busy. It felt confusing. It felt like there was a lot going on mentally and in the collective. Compared to a normal Mercury retrograde, it felt more pervasive and it felt stronger than usual. So I'm happy now that we are really seeing the relief from that. And it's really not until today, the 26th, that should really be moving. The day that Mercury stations direct tends to be a bit confusing as well because Mercury is still quite slow in the sky. But by the time we get to the timing of this chart, which is April 30th, Mercury is really moving forward. basically what I want to say about Mercury stationing direct and this eclipse season wrapping up is that we're beginning to get some relief from it now. And I believe that when Mars enters Aries on the 30th, around this time, let me take away my markers before we move on to this next thing, and I can show you this Mars as well once I take that away. I believe once Mars enters Aries, which occurs on April 30th, we'll start to really see some movement for a lot of the changes that occurred during the eclipse, if that makes sense. So you may have had a lot of ideas about what you want to do, or you may have even started to plan what you're going to do. Once Mars moves into Aries, bringing in that motivation, that direction, the harmony of May, you guys, is so great. I love that I'm working on the May horoscopes right now. Feel free to check those out on my channel. Might be interesting to reflect on the March, April reports as well. I did those together because of eclipse season. Here we are at the end of April. But there's just so much positivity. There's so much ease and harmony and balance in the charts for May. It's really, really exciting. So I think as Mars moves into Aries, this eclipse season begins to wrap up, especially after Mercury stations direct. We just start to get a lot more ease in the sky. So I think that that's really wonderful to see. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing that I want to discuss with you today. And this is Mars conjunct Neptune. I just have a few things I'd like to add to the conversation about this that I'm not hearing a lot of people saying. I have some Mars Neptune aspects natally, and so I've worked with this signature quite a bit, and there's a lot to it. I think it can sort of be a bit easily, there are many different interpretations, and I just would like to add to that conversation. So Mars conjuncts Neptune in Pisces on the 29th. This aspect is exact, but it's active for quite a while. Certainly until Mars moves into Aries on the 30th, but I mean, that's really right after. But it's really been active for a week or 10 days or so already. Let's say a week. For about a week, we've been feeling this. And then we'll feel it wrap up at the end of the month. So it's sort of about 10 days in total. I think once Mars changes signs, it's a different vibe. But Mars is about the way we do things, our motivation, the way we take action. And Neptune has sort of a dreamy, looser, more open, visionary quality to it. You know, it's very watery. And so when we put these two together, it's moving in a different way. And that's why it can be easy to see it as a negative, because are you able to make progress in the way usually progress is made? Maybe not. That might be a little more difficult. But it's a different kind of energy. So Mars in Pisces is on its own quite watery and sort of an interesting placement for Mars, right? Mars is much happier in Aries, which we'll talk about in a second, much more at home in Aries, I should say. In Pisces, Mars is doing something that he doesn't usually do, which is rest. He's gone all the way around the chart. Now he's in Pisces. Now is the time where I kind of think of it as Mars being in the sauna, resting after coming home from battle, resting his muscles. The sauna makes me think of all that water, and also just sort of the dreamy, dazed out, meditative quality of that kind of an experience, right? Mars is thinking about where he's been and what he's been through. He's also he's taking wisdom from that, right? He's trying to let go of parts of it that were difficult and put those down and soothe them, and learn lessons from maybe things he did wrong or things that he saw happen in the world that he would do differently. And there's also an intuition and a tuning into your own needs here, where Mars is thinking about where he's hurt. You know, he's taking stock of his injuries. He's taking stock of his rest that he needs. He's thinking about what he needs to eat to start to heal. It's a quiet space. It's not a loud space, and that's very unusual for Mars. Mars is usually out there in battle, fighting for things, for love or money or other things. I just wanted to mention that in conjunction with Venus, it's interesting how Mars and Venus go together. And we're talking a lot about Mars and Venus in this report, so I might as well mention this. Mars and Venus really harmonize together. Venus represents love, and also finances are tied with Venus. And I found that kind of hard to understand for a while. And there's something about how Mars and Venus work together, how they're each other's counterparts, that help me understand it. It's almost like the money is the reason, like the money and the love is the reason for the fighting, is the reason for the action. It all sort of comes down, in a way, it all kind of comes down to love. Almost in a way as if, you know, the reason we might want to secure a good home would be so that we can have a family and keep everybody safe. It would be for the relationship. So money and comfort and security go together in our world. And it doesn't even necessarily mean money. It's just like material things, a certain element of safety. And that usually, traditionally, almost like hormonally, that desire to secure that can come up when the coupling happens. It's like time to build a nest kind of thing. So that makes me think of the Venus-Mars signature. Sorry, that was a very much a digression from our main topic here. What I'm talking about with Mars conjunct Neptune in Pisces is that Mars is doing some different intuitive work anyway when he's in Pisces. But it's not bad. There's nothing bad about what I just said. But are we moving in a normal way? No, right? We're moving in an intuitive way. And really, guys, I feel like I keep saying guys, and I don't mean to. It's an old habit. Really, friend, when Neptune comes along and adds to the signature here with Mars and Pisces, it just kind of amplifies that, because it's more dreaminess, more wateriness, more visions of the future, more breaking through boundaries, going places that you've never gone before, sort of visionary, future thinking, out of the box, dreamy, visionary type stuff added to this signature. So during this period, we're not moving with this end of April. We're wrapping up eclipse season. We've wrapped up the Mercury retrograde. And I kind of see this Mars-Neptune conjunction as the final moment of slowness before moving into action on those eclipse energies. It was a lot of mental energy, a lot of change. There could have been external things happening, but it's almost like things haven't really fully gotten moving forward yet until Mars comes in to harmonize with all of this stuff. So once he breaks out of this sauna, once he breaks out of Neptune's loving embrace and the comfort of the sauna and is ready to go back to battle, he's going, because a lot has been happening here in Aries. We've got the nodes here. We've got Chiron here. He's got healing work to do. He's got new projects to launch off the ground. There's a lot that will be coming. So this time is sort of the last moment where we're thinking about what we want. We're building that vision. Tune into your senses during this time in terms of following your intuition. So if you feel compelled to do something, maybe listen to that instinct. If you're walking and you think, "Ooh, maybe I'd like to go down that path," go down it. If you're cooking something and you want to try a different ingredient, try it. I don't know. It's about moving through small and medium-sized decisions intuitively and listening to your inner voice as you think about what you need right now. And it's also not about just what we need, it's a compassion thing. Mars in Pisces, conjunct Neptune, is not moving forward based on what I want, right? In a way, Mars in Aries, which we'll talk about in a second, Mars in a lot of places can be, okay, what do I want and how do I get it? Mars in Pisces conjunct Neptune doesn't have that feeling. It has much more of a what would be best for everybody? How can I tune in to what this other person also needs? How can I do what I need to do for myself, and also be making sure that that's serving others? It's very empathetic, it's very compassionate, it's very visionary. So that's basically what I wanted to add to the Mars in Neptune conversation. So why don't we go ahead and move on and talk about a couple of other things here. Next, I'd like to talk about Venus, which is moving into Taurus. Let's go ahead and switch what we're focusing on. And then I'm going to circle for us Venus and Taurus. Venus is in Taurus in this chart. That's good. Venus had just moved into Taurus at the time of this chart. Okay, make the chart big again. Sometimes I forget to do that part. If you're enjoying this video, thank you so much for being here, first of all, and just for watching. If you are enjoying this video, if you could give it a like, I would really appreciate it. It really helps the circulation of the video on YouTube, and it means a lot to me. Okay, Venus and Taurus. Venus enters Taurus on April 29th and will be here until May 23rd. Venus is at home in Taurus. Taurus is the home sign of Venus. And what's really cool is that Mars is going to enter Aries, which is Mars's home sign. So we will talk about that as well. But first, let's focus on Venus and Taurus. It's neat that that's happening at the same time, though, isn't it? So Venus and Taurus. Venus is here from the 29th to the 23rd. Venus is at home in Taurus. And it is so comfortable. This is comfortable relationship energy. And I mean that in the best possible way. I feel like Venus and Taurus is sort of the serotonin and the oxytocin side of love, not the dopamine, right? It's like at first, when you're first meeting someone, you're so excited and you can't wait to see them again. And that's all very exciting, but it's also sort of upsetting because you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see them. And then you see them and then you're worried about when you're going to see them again. And there's just this, it can feel sort of like it can be hard to sleep. It can be hard to concentrate. You know, that early stage of romance isn't what this is. Venus and Taurus is sort of the next layer, what you get to once you're in that committed relationship where you know that you love each other, you know that you're in this, and it's that comfortable, cozy, secure kind of love. That's Venus and Taurus, right? It's a long-term love. It's comfortable. It's easy. And so we may be feeling those energies more so in our relationships during this time. That energy in the world is more available to us. And I always think it's helpful to remember too that it's not just more available to us, it's more available to everyone, right? So it's so great to live in a world where more people are likely to be feeling this way. And it doesn't have to be coming from a romantic relationship at all. It's coming from all our relationships and even your relationship with yourself, right? Sort of, especially as with Mars moving into Aries as well. There's this really interesting harmonizing of like the masculine and feminine during this time. And I think that that's something that we might be able to feel in the collective and in ourselves. So feeling sort of that balance within yourself of all your different sides. And finding balance between doing and being, finding balance between rest and action, many different dualities, right? Coming into a kind of harmony that and coziness that's really nice to see. One funny thing I want to mention about Venus and Taurus that I keep in mind is just that all the sense pleasures are a little extra during this time. So, cozy clothes feel cozier. The sun feels nicer on your face, and food actually tastes better. So it's just a good thing to keep in mind in both directions, right? It's a wonderful time to cook and to enjoy food, and also just good to keep in mind that it's delicious and it can be an easy time to overdo. Kind of a funny thing to say, but I just always keep it in mind. And I always mention it to someone who has Venus and Taurus natally, and they're like, oh my gosh, I knew I loved food more than most people. Okay. But this is so nice, everyone. It's just so, so nice for May to have this going on from April 29th to May 23rd. How beautiful. And rather than take away this note, I'm going to add to it as we move into Mars entering Aries, as we move on to Mars entering Aries, because I'm really sort of talking about these two things together. So actually on this chart, Mars hasn't quite gotten there yet. So let's use a little arrow to show. There we go. And then I'll make this big again. So Mars, after that conjunction with Neptune, on April 30th, will move into Aries, will ingress Aries. And Mars will be in Aries from April 30th to June 9th. And again, Aries is at home or Mars is at home in Aries. It's Mars's home sign. And so for this to be happening at the same time that Venus is in her home sign right next door is just so nice. I've mentioned before that I like to picture them as actual houses, right? Like imagine an actual house. So there's an actual house that is owned by Taurus, and Venus lives there, and Venus is home right now. And there's an actual home that's owned by Aries, and Mars lives there, and Mars is home right now, right? And so that just provides a beautiful harmony between that masculine and feminine. As I was just mentioning in the last section, I think that we will feel that internally and externally, a sort of balance between dualities within and without, which provides a lot of support. Because I also think that as Mars moves into Aries, something to keep in mind, and I discussed this earlier in the video as well, is that we're going to get some action on all of those things that we set up in April during the eclipse season. There was a lot happening with Mercury retrograde and the eclipses, and you may have gotten some sense of the direction that you want to move in. And you may have started to move there, but I think we have a whole lot more energy and action and happening towards it, like it actually comes into being more during May and in early June, because Mars is here from April 30th to June 9th. So we can get a lot done during this time. And we might be doing things that we haven't done before. There's been a lot of shifts in the astrology lately. We have Pluto in Aquarius now, which is stationing retrograde, actually at the beginning of May, slowing down, so it's a little extra powerful. Actually coming into squares with all of these different planets. I discussed that in my horoscopes for May. I discussed that Pluto station is the first aspect that I discuss in that video. So we may be having some real activity with this Mars in Aries in a direction that we haven't in a long time, or not in a long time, ever. We might be doing things we haven't done before. We'll have a lot of will. We will have a lot of energy. It's like Mars can be Mars here. Mars is confident. We can feel confident. We can feel energized. We can feel motivated, determined, confident, willful, energized, motivated. Those are the words that go with this. So what wonderful energy to support all of those different changes that we made during eclipse season. I think that's just about all I have for right now. I wonder if there are any questions. I'm taking a look at the comments. I see someone here saying, name the 12 zodiac signs. Or maybe you're asking me to name the 12th. But that's something you can look that up. I have been thinking about doing some sort of a video where I discuss all of these glyphs, and what they mean and how to remember them and how to draw them. Would that be interesting to anybody? I like how they're called glyphs. I've always enjoyed that. It's fun to learn a glyph, right? And so these symbols are the planets, and then also the ones that represent the signs. We could talk about them. If that's interesting to anybody, can you let me know in the comments, and I could put together a very short video on that. That might be helpful. And I don't really think there are any other comments right now. Enjoy the end of April. I feel like we're really wrapping up a lot of intense time for the last 6 weeks or so, really even longer. And May is a lot better. So I feel like the end of April is sort of a transition between those periods where after the Mercury retrograde, after the eclipses, the energy is starting to let up a little bit and things are just feeling easier, but not as easy as they will feel, if that makes sense. So thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed these videos, and yeah, have a wonderful weekend and time ahead. Check out the horoscopes on my channel too. Thank you, thank you, thank you.